Hello everybody and welcome to the latest vlog from bloodyflix.co.uk. I'm the editor Paul Downey. Today I'm going to be talking about the upcoming Halloween film that's out in October this year, which we believe has finished filming over the past few days. Jamie Lee Curtis and Nick Castle have been quite vocal on their social media feeds on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram to pretty much say that they're done with it. Obviously there is potential for reshoots outside of Charleston if they're going to other locations, but for the most part their parts are done. There have been people who've been quite concerned in terms of, not so much from Castle's point of view, because obviously Michael Myers, if these films are kind of going on past experience, they won't feature him too heavily. They will feature him when it matters. Really, it's about building an overarching story and creating characters that we really care about. And then basically, Michael Myers is the chaos, or the Shape is the chaos that kind of disrupts this dystopia, this utopia. Sorry. I think the more concern for the fans, especially the hardcore ones, is that Jamie Lee Curtis was only on set for 2 weeks. But in fairness, with the way that filming schedules work now, she could have bunched all of her all her shots basically together across this 2 week period, and then basically they have her for this 2 week block, and then they basically say, right, you're finished, barring any sort of reshoots, and then they can let her kind of get on with her life and obviously look at any other film projects that she might be filming this year, or television shows, which obviously we're not too sure of, or certainly I aren't at this stage. The one concerning thing there is in terms of what's been talked about, I think, in terms of potentially using treatments from the Halloween Return script, which basically never really got off the ground before Blumhouse basically took the project on and kind of give it a fresh injection of life. I read the script that was produced for that, which I think was going to be done by Marcus Dunstan. It was quite a weak script, compared to some of the other ones. Probably a fairly middle of the road option. Probably falling a bit between Halloween 5 and Halloween 6 treatment. It didn't really kind of reinvigorate the franchise with the way that basically that Blumhouse, and I'm sure the fans are hoping that this film will, obviously bringing Curtis back into the fold and Nick Castle for the first time since the original. So hopefully there won't be too much of that script, and it'll be a fairly original take. I think, as I mentioned previously to people I've talked to on Twitter, is that I'd be quite disappointed that if David Gordon Green and Danny McBride went to John Carpenter with basically a rehashed idea of Halloween Returns, and it did kind of excite Carpenter, because he must know as a filmmaker that story was quite weak, and it didn't really. And obviously that was sans Curtis as well. Obviously with Jamie Lee coming back on as Laurie Strode again, it adds a fairly fresh impetus to the story. Hopefully she might replace somebody in that script. There are kind of callbacks to the franchise with a relative of Dr. Loomis kind of being revealed in the end, but. I certainly think that, I mean, there has been talk that basically this will be the film to kind of end the franchise and then we can kind of move on. I don't think that'll be the case. I think it kind of harks back to a long time ago, 20 years ago, when the Halloween H2O was made. That was in part of a kind of a revival of the slasher films, with I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, and the Scream franchise doing really well. Kevin Williamson basically tried to initially get Halloween H2O off the ground, get Jamie Lee Curtis involved, wanted to obviously get Carpenter involved, but he didn't want to be in it. But at the time, everybody watching that, I mean, I can remember watching it on VHS, which, you know, obviously shows the age of the film and certainly shows my age. They were thinking, yes, this is the end. This is the end, and what a fitting way to go out. Obviously, you know, Laurie kind of getting her final revenge on what was her brother at this stage. But you know, the company had other ideas. The film made quite a lot of money. Certainly for that time, over $50 million made at the US box office for a Halloween film. Was big news at the time as well. Horror films were making quite decent amounts of money at that point. You know, the Scream franchise, I think every entry did around $100 million, maybe plus actually. Certainly if we looked at it in inflated value terms, then it would have made substantially more in today's market. But again, Halloween H2O made its money. Halloween Resurrection came along and basically it killed that idea of the franchise by just being a fairly rushed and quite poor story. Let's not even go into Busta Rhymes versus Michael Myers. But yeah, going back to my point before going off on the tangent, I don't think that Blumhouse, certainly if the film makes money, will kind of end the franchise right there. I think they'll see possibilities and maybe spin-off ideas, maybe using the younger cast, people like Judy Greer, Randy Matichak, who are the kind of the daughter and the granddaughter of Laurie Strode in the story. To maybe take on the franchise again. I don't really think that Nick Castle will probably see the worth in coming back to the franchise. And the same with Curtis. It looks like it's a one-off deal for her, which is fine. There's only so much story you can kind of mine out of that, especially now that she isn't related to Michael Myers, or certainly we don't think she is anyway. So it's a case of just waiting to see kind of what happens there. But credit to the company, because they've actually managed to keep things fairly under wraps, barring the odd picture here and there, say from Castle, from Jamie Lee Curtis, from producer Ryan Turek, and a few photographers who managed to get in and around the set. We don't really know that much about it, and that's quite a good thing. The rumour is that we will see the first proper trailer on the back of the new Purge film in July. So that will give us a good 3-month lead in or so till the film kind of comes along, and there'll be teasers before then. I was quite convinced that they might show off the new look in proper detail of the Shape's new mask. But alas, we haven't seen anything yet, and now with filming done, they can start focusing on post-production and really getting the kind of the promotional elements of it right. This is something that Blumhouse are quite good at, given their kind of their past kind of horror experience. They haven't really had a real flop yet, and I think that's why people are quite confident that they'll kind of get it right with Halloween. But from certainly from my point of view, I can't see them just ending with one. I think Hollywood's too greedy a game, certainly when you're making money. If Halloween does make its money, to kind of just step away and end a franchise that could potentially be as lucrative as that. Especially with the talk of John Carpenter looking to maybe get back into directing it if the projects are right. Not to say that he'd ever go back to maybe Halloween, but maybe he could do projects for Blumhouse. We all know that, as certainly as me, as a big Carpenter fan, that he's much more than Halloween. There's films out there that he's done, certainly in this kind of his golden period of the 80s, things like The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China, The Fog, Escape from New York, They Live, The Prince of Darkness. That he can do much more than just films about the boogeyman. So with the right scripts, he could potentially have a little renaissance of his career, and that would be great. And it'll be quite interesting to see what he comes up with for music for the film as well, whether he goes with a fairly traditional theme or whether he tries to be quite outlandish and try and mix it up a bit, so give the fans something really different, but obviously it's coming from the master, so who are we to question it? But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. What do you think of the new Halloween film? Do you think it's going to be a success? Do you think the franchise is going to carry on? What do you think the story is going to be? Will we see the demise of Michael Myers? Will we see the demise of Laurie Strode? Will we see the demise of both? Or will there be something completely out of left field that will kind of take us by surprise? So yeah, have a comment in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts.